What up, Book Lightning? So it's pretty early, and I apologize for the lighting setup. Actually, look, the light just shifted. Oh, that's nice. I haven't quite figured out a better setup for this. Um, I'm trying to work on that soon. In any case, so it's pretty early in the morning. I watch the YouTubes like I often do, and was watching this video by a YouTuber named Mundane Matt, and I occasionally watch his videos. Um, and this particular video, apparently he's in San Diego Comic Con right now, and so he did a video about some of the things that were said at the Ghostbusters panel, which I guess happened on either Thursday or Friday. It was some Thursday, and particularly like in regards to the future of the Ghostbusters franchise, including the all-female Ghostbusters, specifically the all-female Ghostbusters, honestly. And like they shifted like that movie is now called Ghostbusters, like Answer the Call or something like that. And apparently they're also referring to the original Ghostbusters as Ghostbusters Prime, which I guess whatever. I think they're just the Ghostbusters, honestly. But so before I get into this, I should I don't know if I've talked publicly. Well, at least on here, I don't think I've ever talked about my feelings on Ghostbusters, and specifically in regards to the Ghostbusters all-female cast. First of all, I'm not particularly precious about Ghostbusters. Um, I actually love both of those movies. The flack that the second one gets, and I get that it's not as good a movie as the first one, but I enjoy both of those movies. I'll watch them. Somebody puts them on at any time, I'll watch them. But I don't have I don't know, like the fanboyishness about it as some people. It's the same way with Back to the Future. I think Back to the Future is great. Love Back to the Future. It's one of the few movies that I can remember my dad taking me to was not Back to the Future 3. But it's just like when people like go crazy for it, like there's a Ghostbusters, a local group called Louisiana Ghostbusters, and no offense to them, but I just don't get it. It's not Ghostbusters isn't even like Bill Murray's best movie, you know, by any, I mean Groundhog's Day and Stripes all day, all day. Anyway, but so I'm not particularly precious about Ghostbusters. I wasn't. I was only bothered by the idea of an all-female Ghostbusters because in this day and age, when you do something like that, it is specifically to serve a movement. It is not done for creative purposes. It's done to check off a quota. If you had introduced if you're like, all right, we're gonna make a new Ghostbusters team, like it doesn't make sense for them to be all male. Absolutely, 100%, yes. Doesn't make any sense. But it doesn't make any sense to do the opposite either. Like you're doing that for political purposes, not for any specific creative reason. And that bothers me. It bothers me. It's the same thing as like the female Doctor Who. If you did this in a different cultural period, I think you'd have a better argument because like I can see the creative possibilities or something like that. Even whether you agree with it or disagree, you can at least see that in this particular cultural period, when you do something like that, it just is for politically correct purposes. Period. So that kind of bothered me. It wasn't like the straw that broke the camel's back, but there were two things about that movie that did for me. First and foremost, Paul Feig. Paul Feig makes broad comedies, and honestly terrible ones. Like I can't remember I can't tell you how many times I heard people say that Bridesmaids was incredible. That is one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen in my life. It is a fucking terrible movie, and it's not funny. It's so not funny. But Paul Feig, and I'm not even saying Paul Feig can't make a funny movie, but he makes broad comedies. He's the lowest common denominator in comedy. well, I guess female comedy, because the movies are aimed at women, which fine, no problem with that. But uh, Ghostbusters wasn't a broad comedy. It was a sci-fi movie with a comedic bent, or a comedy movie with a sci-fi bent. But it wasn't just a straight comedy, and it certainly wasn't broad. So right away, Paul Feig was like, no, no, just no, no, horrible idea. And then when they announced the cast, that just kind of cemented it for me. Like, first of all, I love Melissa McCarthy. I think Melissa McCarthy is great. However, I don't like the fact that, like, I don't understand Melissa McCarthy as in her career choices over the last few years, because she is now a big star. But she keeps taking these roles where they're like, oh, look, she's the gross fat chick. Look, she's the female Chris Farley. They love that female Chris Farley shit with her. And I don't get it. Like, Melissa McCarthy, you're a good actress. You're a great comedic actress. Fucking do something else. Tell them to fuck off. Go make your own movies. Quit doing this shit. It's terrible. Like, and it just, like, it's gonna make her career shorter. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't think Melissa McCarthy will be a legend 10 years from now. And I think she has a possibility of doing more for herself and becoming a bigger and bigger star. But I think she's going to fade away because she makes, like, terrible, terrible movies where she's just like the gross fat chick. Every fucking movie. Anyway, but I like her, so that didn't bother me. Although I don't know if she was a weird choice for this movie because she is overweight and female. It's kind of hard to imagine her running around with a proton pack. Those things got to be heavy. It's a neutron accelerator, particle accelerator, right? Yeah, whatever. I think it's a particle accelerator, but it's got to be pretty heavy. You know, I can't see her running around with that. But on the other hand, Kristen Wiig, no offense to this person, but I could not find her less funny. Bridesmaids could have maybe been funny with a different star. Like, they had Maya Rudolph. She's awesome. Melissa McCarthy was in it doing the thing I just complained about, but whatever. Like, some of those actresses were funny. Kristen Wiig is not. She just kind of, like, blankly stares. Like, I feel like Kristen Wiig is legitimately depressed. Like, that's her role in life. And she's not acting. She's just kind of trudging through life and looking for reasons not to slit her own wrist. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, Kristen Wiig. I'm sure you're a nice person in real life. But anyway, Leslie Jones couldn't be a bigger, overweight black stereotype. It just one of the I don't understand how stereotypes like this still exist in movies and people don't call it out. Like if if I were to sit here right now and do the things on camera that Leslie Jones did, I mean, the ACLU would be trying to shut me down. It's horrible, and it wasn't funny, and I didn't really want to see that. And then Kate McKinnon, also, like, she's similar to Melissa McCarthy. They're playing her as the female Jim Carrey, which I guess is good if you like Jim Carrey. I did when I was little, when I was watching, and in Living Color, I think it was funny, but everything since from Ace Ventura on, I just, like, he just makes weird faces, and I don't get that. I just don't find it funny. But Kate McKinnon. Anyway, so I did see part of the movie. I made it through 10 minutes. Actually, let me rephrase that. I made it through 3 minutes of the beginning. Then I went off and did something, and my friend was still watching it when I came back, and I made it through, like, another 6 minutes at the end. Which isn't a fair way to review a movie, but, oh my god, I barely made it through that 10 minutes. I barely made it. I mean, I didn't make it through the first 3 minutes. I left after 3 minutes, and I came back, and I was like, alright, well, let me watch a little bit more of this. No, it's terrible. So, right away they should have scrapped that. They should have actually just got rid of that movie. But so on to the part where what Monday Man said. So there's a Ghostbusters comic book with IDW called Ghostbusters 101. For the life of me, I knew the comic was out, and I never, like I said, I'm not precious about Ghostbusters, so I don't really have any interest in reading Ghostbusters comics. No offense to anyone who does. I hope it's good. I hope you enjoy it. It just, I don't like adaptations of something live action. I don't think you can translate Bill Murray into a comic book, and that's why, even though I did watch Real Ghostbusters as a kid, I don't think I had the same attachment to it. I don't think it helped foster anything because it was such a different thing than the actual Ghostbusters movies. Like it was almost silly to me that they made, But back then they used to do that. There was a Rambo cartoon where he was like G.I. Joe. It was weird. But yeah, so there's a Ghostbusters 101 comic, and it just never occurred to me. So basically what it is the female Ghostbusters, they answer the call chicks, go into the Ghostbusters Prime universe, and they meet the original Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters. Hello. The real Ghostbusters. Why do they call them Ghostbusters Prime? They call them real Ghostbusters. That's what they are. This is the cartoon. But they meet the real Ghostbusters, and the real Ghostbusters train them and teach them things to be better Ghostbusters. And by the way, just the fact that they decided to do a reboot of this movie, like, instead of just passing the torch, which I think would have gone over better with fans, because that's the thing, like, philosophically, they're not just rebooting the franchise. They're replacing those old, dusty, old male Ghostbusters and, bringing like hip, new, young, female girl power. Like that's the feeling that you get. Instead of just being like, yeah, there used to be Ghostbusters and they got old and they couldn't do it anymore. And, maybe Ray is still looking like to rekindle things and could have trained that, So basically in this Ghostbusters 101 comic, they learn to be Ghostbusters. And so so apparently they are going to do more movies. There's going to be an animated movie and there's going to be a live action movie. So what Mundane Matt thinks is going to happen is they're basically going to do a version of Ghostbusters 101 on film, where the new Ghostbusters are going to team up with the real Ghostbusters, and they're going to become better Ghostbusters, so that when they do the third movie, now they're just the Ghostbusters. And it's a solid idea that would work in a different time period. I don't think he is right, and this isn't this isn't a response video like, yeah, answer this, Mundane Matt. I'm not doing one of those. I don't have any interest in doing one of those things. At least not right now. But I don't think the idea can work in film. I think you can do that in comics, because no matter what anyone tells you, women make up a small percentage of comic book readers. The vast majority of comic book readers are straight white males. And that number might be 55%. And then everything else is broken up. Similar to just demographics in general of the United States of America. So you can do that in comics, because feminism isn't that concerned with comics. There's a reason Anita Sarkeesian decided to attack the video game industry, because the video game industry is huge. It's $1 billion industry. Comic books are not. Comic book movies are. Comic books are not. So you can do that in comics. You cannot do a movie where the all-female, girl power, rah-rah feminist Ghostbusters have to go and be taught how to be real Ghostbusters by the actual real Ghostbusters. Feminists will riot. You will get just as much negative publicity as you got in the first movie, if not more. Only this time you'll be called sexist, racist, misogynist. You'll be called all those things. It'll be a reaction to extreme right-wing terrorism, fascism, whatever. And it sucks because that's what the first, and that's the other thing is like that's what the first movie should have been about. Like at the end of the whether I have any interest in ever seen that movie, at the end of that first Ghostbusters movie, let me rephrase that. At the end of Answer the Call, they are asked to travel internationally with a huge government budget. And I'm not even sorry if I'm spoiling this for you. It's a fucking terrible movie. Don't watch it ever. If someone gives you a copy for like Christmas or your birthday, set it on fucking fire. Toast marshmallows over it. It's fucking terrible. Anyway. So, but in the movie, they're Ghostbusters. That's it. Like they don't need training anymore. They've learned to work as a team. Story wise, they are Ghostbusters. You can't have the second movie be them learning to be Ghostbusters. But that's what the first movie should have been. Anyway, so that's all I got to say. I'm sorry if this rambled. I just felt like talking about that. Again, the Ghostbusters Answer the Call thing, it's not a pet peeve of mine. It's just an example of political correctness and destroying storytelling, as far as I'm concerned. And it should be an example that people look to when they go to do things in the future. And again, the answer isn't, oh, everything has to be straight white male. No. The answer is that going forward, you need to learn how to make these things for the right reasons. Not just because you feel like this group is underrepresented or because you think straight white males are terrible. Those are the wrong ways to look at it as well. So, I don't know. I just, even though Paul Feig is out, and I shouldn't say I'm happy that he has been publicly denounced by Dan Aykroyd and Sony or anything like that. I don't wish any ill will on the guy. I don't know. Maybe he seems like a douchebag online, but in real life, people are different than they are online. I'm sure he's a nice person to his family and friends, whatever. But having him out certainly ups my interest in anything they do forward. But still, like I said, Melissa McCarthy's the only person that I like in that cast. And from what Mundane Matt was saying, apparently, the only character that had any resonance with audiences and like has a fan base is Kate McKinnon's character Holtzman, who wasn't really a character. She was just like a weirdo who made faces and said weird things, but she was a lesbian like Kate McKinnon is. Although from what I understand, I don't think they came into play that much. I think they just ended it. That was my understanding of it. Again, I didn't see the whole movie, so maybe I should be shutting my mouth at this point. But for whatever, but she wasn't really a character. Like, so, like the fact that this is the really sad point. The fact that she has a fan base says to me, lesbians liked her because she represented lesbians, and I could be wrong about that. But if that's the only, either that or like there's a big subset of like weird chicks who are like, yes, I say strange things that make people less likely to talk to me in public as well. More of this. I don't know. All right. I've been Buck Lightning. Check out Metal Hand of God podcast, which is not like this. It's mostly jokes, although we do talk about stuff like this as well. And you can go check out that video if you haven't seen it, Mundane Matt's video, where he actually discusses this at length and shows some footage from the San Diego Comic-Con panel that he was at. But I don't need to tell you to go look at his channel because you're more likely to see his channel than mine. But whatever. All right. Bye.